Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook. Great Voyage. I, the strongest fighter on the Rocks ship. Chapter 11. Humph, Shiki, you are getting more and more shameless. A sudden voice sounded, and Whitebeard Newgate jumped from the boat and landed steadily in front of Yulo and Shiki. This Shiki is really shameless. He even boasted about himself when he invited Yulo before, but now he has tied with Yulo for more than 10 consecutive games. In this case, he brags about himself shamelessly. Whitebeard Newgate became more and more angry and wanted to kill Golden Lion Shiki with a knife. Hey, Newgate, what are you saying? This is an exchange between our two great swordsmen. Golden Lion Shiki shouted unwillingly. He also had no good feelings towards Whitebeard Newgate, but even if you say something pretentious, you still have to criticize yourself. HMPH, you also know that you and Yulo are both great swordsmen. Yulo became a great swordsman at a young age, how about you? In the past few days, you and Yulo have been competing. Have you ever won a match? You still have the nerve to say that Yulo is worse than you. Newgate looked disdainful. He just couldn't stand Shiki's pretense, so he just asked questions in a row. Newgate, what do you know? The difficulty of practicing the two-sword style is several times that of the one-sword style. When Shiki heard this, his face turned red with anger. You Newgate, you don't give me any face at all. Then he directly picked up Sakura 10 and Deadwood and slashed at Newgate. The corners of Newgate's lips curled up slightly, revealing a smile as if his conspiracy had succeeded. That's it, come and chop me if you're a brother, if that's the case I'm going to beat you up, Shiki. Yulo has long been accustomed to this situation. He took out 3 bottles of wine from his inventory, which were the authentic Wuliangye that he received as a daily check-in reward. He opened 1 bottle and threw 2 bottles at Shiki and Newgate. The two people, who were about to fight at the next moment, suddenly smelled the strong aroma of wine. They saw the flying wine bottle at a glance and reached out to catch it. Newgate, I'll let you go today. Shiki sheathed his swords and warned Newgate seriously. Snort. Newgate snorted coldly. It's better to slow down the violent beating of Shiki. Gudong. Gudong. After drinking strong drinks, Shiki and Newgate were so happy that they no longer paid attention to each other, enjoying the wine. At this time, Yulo suddenly said playfully, Shiki, you can't beat me in swordsmanship. It's not a shame. There's no need to use the excuse that the two-sword style is more difficult, right? Ahem. Yulo boy, what do you mean I can't beat you? Besides, the two-sword style is much more difficult than the one-sword style, okay. Shiki choked suddenly, his face turned red and he said dissatisfiedly. In this case, let's see whose swordsmanship is more difficult in this final competition. Yulo showed a gentle smile, picked up 1001 Nights, and walked to the shore. Gia ha 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 ha, it's just what I want. Shiki was slightly surprised, then his eyes flashed and he laughed. Yulo is still too young. He has the cultivation of a great swordsman, but does not have the knowledge of a great swordsman. Who doesn't know that the more swords you use, the more difficult it becomes? One-sword style is the easiest, two-sword style is twice as difficult, and three-sword style is even more difficult. This is why most swordsmen on the sea have one-sword style. After half a month of competition, Shiki was shocked one after another. He had to admit that Yulo's strength and talent were very strong. However, the proud Shiki would not admit defeat. He felt that if he was an Ito Ryu, he could achieve Yulo's achievements. It seems that I can take this opportunity to show off my difficult swordsmanship, earn some face, and let Yulo know that his senior is not so easy to surpass. Yulo boy, tell me how to compete. Don't say that I, Golden Lion Shiki, bully young people. Shiki looked arrogant and came to the beach, followed by Newgate. We have been fighting for half a month, and we both know each other's moves. You and I each use the other's sword skills. Whoever is stronger wins, and whoever is weak loses. Yulo looked confident and briefly explained the rules. No problem, I will win. Shiki became more confident and crossed his arms, looking like he had a chance to win. After fighting with Yulo for half a month, he is already familiar with all of Yulo's sword moves. With his experience, he can understand half or even more of them, which is quite confident. Seeing Shiki's arrogant look, Yulo was secretly happy. Yulo's swordsmanship encyclopedia contains all of Shiki's swordsmanship. Without plugins, Shiki will definitely lose. Whitebeard Newgate was also very unhappy, always feeling that Shiki was too proud. He really wants to knock Shiki to the bottom of the sea now. I'll go first. 36 troubled winds. Shiki took the lead and waved Sakura 10 with one hand. A cold light suddenly appeared, dazzling him, and 36 paths sword energy slashes shot out in an instant. The difference is that the 36 paths sword energy slashes did not form a sword energy storm, but instead ran around on the sea surface and finally disappeared on the sea surface. Shiki turned around and said proudly, "How about it? The one sword style is very simple. I'm just a step away from fully understanding your move. My two sword style is more difficult." "That's it." Yulo chuckled. "Golden Lion Shiki, you are also one of the best swordsmen in the world. Choose the move that I use the most and is the least difficult. The key is that I haven't fully understood how to use it. Watch it for me." Yulo summoned the dead wood with one hand, clenched the two swords tightly, and suddenly a ray of golden light appeared in his eyes, and wisps of sword energy began to condense on the blade. Shiki's heart suddenly shook, and even Newgate's eyes widened. Because they are too familiar with this kind of sword energy. Lion/wave. The next second, Yulo swung his sword fiercely, and a huge golden sword light slashed out. In just a moment, the sea was cut open, like a canyon, unfathomable and with no end in sight. In addition to Shiki and Newgate, everyone on the pirate ship above was also attracted by this trench, and their hearts were extremely shocked. "It's terrible, that's Yulo's strength. But it's not over yet, have fun if you want to play." Before the ravines on the sea gathered together, Yulo jumped up and drew his sword again with lightning in midair. The two swords were swung like a group of demons dancing wildly. Thousand Slice Valley. While everyone was dazzled, overwhelming sword slashes came out one after another, each of which was no weaker than the slash wave just now. There were swords blazing across the sea, and for a moment, the originally calm sea surface now became turbulent. Shiki was dumbfounded. He looked at the sea, then at Yulo, then at the sea, and finally at Newgate. Slash wave, and Thousand Slice Valley. How is this possible? Shiki's brain finally reacted and he jumped directly into the air, his face full of disbelief. Shiki's brain finally reacted and he jumped directly into the air, his face full of disbelief. Are you the Golden Lion Shiki, or am I the Golden Lion Shiki? In half a month, I only understood Yulo's 36 troubles. Yulo, however, understood his slash wave and even Thousand Slice Valley thoroughly and used it perfectly. That's my trick, why are you using it more powerfully than me? What kind of evil monster is this? Watching Yulo come down with a set of big swords, he moved smoothly, which was very natural. Golden Lion Shiki couldn't help it. Hey, boy Yulo, how did you do that? Shiki was floating around in the air, and his excitement and curiosity could not be calmed down. Newgate was also stunned, his mouth almost dropped to the floor. In the past half-month, Yulo has been with him in Newgate almost all the time, so he knows very well what Yulo does every day. He exercises in the morning, trains swordsmanship during the day, and controls flames at night. He has not done any of his training. Swordsmanship thing. Yulo only relied on the experience of dozens of battles to fully understand the swordsmanship that he had spent years studying. There is no one with such talent before. As long as he lives, he might be able to surpass rocks, because even rocks doesn't have this kind of talent. Isn't it okay if I have hands? Yulo looked down at his hands, deliberately looking confused. Then, he pretended to be a jerk, a scheming jerk. Golden Lion Shiki and Whitebeard Newgate, their eyes widened in disbelief, covered their hearts with their hands, and the blows from Yulo exploded. Is this Yulo guy speaking human language? The two of them claim to have great talents, but compared with Yulo, they are nothing. I can't help it. I'm an excellent person. Not only am I talented, but I'm also handsome. Yulo was very satisfied with the reaction of the two and temporarily added some drama for himself. It seems that my pussy is pretty good at pretending. At this moment, Golden Lion Shiki and Whitebeard Newgate realized Yulo's talent. The two of them quickly came to Yulo, each grabbing one of Yulo's shoulders and shaking them, and shouted excitedly and eagerly. Boy Yulo, it's very troublesome to be the captain by yourself, so just stay on my ship with peace of mind. Boy Yulo, Shiki can't teach you anymore. Why don't you come to my ship and I'll teach you taijutsu and haki. Shiki and Newgate said in unison, but as soon as they finished speaking, they stared at each other angrily, with fire burning in their pupils. Just when Yulo used Slash Wave and Thousand Slice Valley. In the waters close to this small island, a huge pirate ship passed quickly. The captain of this pirate ship is named Gall D. Roger, the future Pirate King. This pirate group is naturally the Roger Pirates, second only to the Rocks Pirate in today's ocean. Even if it is not as good as Rocks Pirate for the time being, its strength cannot be underestimated. Gall D. Roger, the future Pirate King, must be quite powerful. Not even One Piece, just Pluton Rayleigh, is not something that ordinary people can deal with. Everyone in the Roger Pirates didn't pay much attention to this island at first. But, at this moment, a golden slash struck from the direction of the island. The joking people on the boat turned serious. Pluton Rayleigh pushed up his glasses, then pulled out his long sword and slashed it out, killing the sudden golden sword light. This smell seems to be Golden Lion Shiki. Rayleigh sheathed the sword and stared at the island. He felt an extremely familiar aura from the golden slash. Jabba wiped the axe blade and said unceremoniously, "This slash is exactly the same as Golden Lion Shiki's slash wave, who else could it be but him? We are so far apart, just one slash, they really don't take us seriously." Quote, "Ah ha 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 ha, I didn't expect that I could meet Golden Lion Shiki here." At this time, Roger laughed, then closed his eyes and felt it carefully. After a moment, his eyes suddenly opened, and a flash of light flashed in them. Interesting. The corner of Roger's mouth curled up slightly, and he said meaningfully, "The slash just now was not from Shiki." "How come? If it's not Golden Lion Shiki, who is that?" Roger's words made Rayleigh and Jabba quite surprised and confused. In their observation hockey perception, the aura emitted by this golden slash truly came from Golden Lion Shiki. Who else but Golden Lion Shiki would use this move? Shiki and Newgate are both on the island, but this slash was delivered by a young man. Rayleigh and Jabba were slightly shocked when they heard this. They also trust Roger very much than their own observation hockey perception. Roger, their captain, has the world's top observation hockey, which can listen to the sounds of all things. He is not yet proficient in it, but he can use it for a short time, so his perception is absolutely infallible. Coming, get ready." Suddenly, Roger spoke again, with excitement in his voice. Rayleigh and Jabba seemed to feel something, and immediately took a stance. The sea first started to ripple, and then dozens of golden slashes were seen, coming overwhelmingly towards the face, each one not weaker than the previous slash wave. "Lion Thousand Slice Valley. Is it that young man?" Quote. Rayleigh raised her eyebrows and said in a surprised tone. While speaking, the sword energy was already striking out one after another. Jabba on the side also shot out a fierce axe light while his arm was rising and falling. Boom! Rayleigh's sword energy, Jabba's axe light, and dozens of golden slashes collided. Under the pressure of the strong air flow, the sea surface instantly sunk, forming a sea pit for a short time. "Okay, let's change course and sail to the island. Let's go meet Golden Lion, Whitebeard, and the young man for a while." With a smile on his face, Roger waved his hand and shouted loudly. This young man aroused great interest in him. The person who can walk around with Golden Lion Shiki and Whitebeard Newgate must be a member of Rocks Pirate. However, Rocks Pirate, when did such a character appear? From the information obtained by listening to the voice of all things, this young man has the swordsmanship of a great swordsman and can compete with Golden Lion Shiki in a sword duel. Such strength is something I have never heard of before, so he shouldn't be a newcomer. Rayleigh and Jabba were also quite curious after hearing what Roger said. Judging from the slash just now, this young man is really strong. The two couldn't help but ignite their fighting spirit. After not fighting for a few days, their hands were itchy and they wanted to move their muscles. Although the overall strength of their pirate group is not as good as the Rocks Pirate, they usually try to avoid direct confrontation with the entire Rocks Pirate. They are not afraid of the Rocks Pirates, but due to the gap in combat power, weak crew members will increase casualties. Everyone in the Roger Pirates is unwilling to lose their partners. The island at this moment. Shiki and Newgate have calmed down. The three of them sat on the shore, sipping wine and laughing from time to time during the conversation. It is worth noting that Shiki and Newgate still looked at Yulo with fire hidden in their eyes. Both of them are thinking that if they can pull Yulo onto their ship, of course, not now, but when they form a pirate group in the future. Yulo next to him took advantage of his free time to communicate with the system. Do your daily check-in. Ding. I successfully clocked in today. Host receives rewards. Junior observation hockey, intermediate armament hockey. Yulo couldn't help but be a little surprised. Ever since he punched in twice and received generous rewards, it seemed as if his luck had been exhausted. For half a month in a row, he only received some daily necessities, which were of little use to him. So Yulo had no choice but to keep training every day. After half a month, his physical fitness improved significantly. His physical strength now is at least 10 times higher than before. Through Yulo's, God's perspective, experience, he already had an idea of the junior observation hockey, and it was now a matter of course. The mid-level armament hockey also makes up for his shortcomings. Using the armed color, the attack power and defense power are greatly improved. Just when Yulo was immersed in the system, Whitebeard Newgate suddenly stood up, frowning slightly, and pushed Kong Yunchi to the ground, as if he was ready. The same goes for Golden Lion, holding Sakuraju and Kugagi around his waist with both hands, staring at the sea. When Yulo saw this, he jumped up and turned his gaze to the calm sea. On the sea, a black spot grew bigger and bigger, and Yulo's observation hockey vaguely sensed several powerful auras. Yulo, concentrate and prepare to fight. Newgate's voice sounded, with a hint of solemnity in his tone. This opponent cannot be underestimated. Shiki slowly pulled out his double swords. Just as Yulo was about to speak, the system voice appeared again. Ding. Trigger mission check-in. Host is about to face the future Pirate King, Gall D. Rogers' pirate group. This is a rare confrontation between strong men. Please use the battle to test the results of training. No matter how strong the enemy is in this battle, no matter who wins or loses. The task is successfully checked in, and the system will issue rewards. When Yulo heard this, his body trembled, his pupils shrank, and he looked at the sea again. Unexpectedly, it turned out to be the Roger pirates. No wonder Shiki and Newgate took it seriously. Yulo's heart was excited involuntarily, and his fighting spirit was rising. This is not only the spirit of eagerness to fight with the strong, but also a test of his strength after training for half a month to see what level of strength he has now. The Roger pirates' ship was not far from the shore and within sight of both parties. Ha 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 ha, Newgate, Shiki, long time no see. Roger stood on the bow of the boat, put his hands on his hips, and laughed, looking carefree. Roger, I will defeat you this time. Newgate directly raised the cloud cutter and slashed it towards the sea. A white ball of light appeared on the cloud-cutting blade, and Newgate activated Shock Fruit's ability. The white light group on the blade carried a terrifying vibration force. The air that touched it suddenly split open and was covered with white cracks, as if the space was shattered. The originally calm sea surface suddenly surged, causing waves to rise. The fluctuations became larger and larger, forming huge waves directly towards the Roger pirates. Roger's expression on the boat remained unchanged, and he complained to Newgate, "You do it without even saying hello. We are friends after all." Having said that, he took action decisively the next second. Two crimson flames ignited in Roger's eyes, and with a shocking momentum, the crimson sword cut through the air and slashed towards the huge wave. The huge waves were directly cut in two by the sword light, and separated to both sides. The hull of the Roger pirates passed safely through the split sea channel. The waves were split, but the sword light did not dissipate, and it hit Newgate on the shore. Newgate's muscles first contracted and then swelled. He did not use the ability of Shock Fruit, but relied on the power and momentum of the explosion. Bang! Kong Yunchi's blade collided with the crimson blade, causing a violent explosion. The violent air currents stirred up the sea and made the pirate ship bump and rock. Newgate fell steadily to the shore. At this time, the Roger pirates had approached the coast. Pluton Rayleigh had been paying attention to Yulo. He suddenly asked, "Did you send out the Slash Wave and Thousand Slice Valley just now?" Yulo was slightly startled by this sentence. How did Pluton Rayleigh know? Could it be that, ha 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 ha, the attack you just made almost broke our pirate ship? Roger spoke up, clearing up Yulo's doubts. Yulo's expression was blank. Holy shit, could this be fate? Emotions. The Roger pirates were attracted by him. He felt the slightly resentful looks in Newgate and Shiki's eyes. That look seemed to say, "You're just pretending to be cool, so you don't care if you hit us, but if you attract the Roger pirates, you want us to help you." This left Yulo speechless and smiled awkwardly. "I thought it was Golden Lion Shiki, but I didn't expect it to be you. You are so good at swordsmanship at such a young age. You can beat Shiki 8 blocks at this age." While everyone was moving in their hearts, Jabba's voice came, which was a bit out of place. After receiving initial recognition from the powerful, Yulo was in a very good mood. But for others, it may not necessarily have any good effect. Copper Jabba, Golden Lion Shiki, who was already full of resentment, suddenly became so angry that he gritted his teeth. "You praise Yulo and I won't stop you. He is indeed a monster, but why are you comparing him to me? It doesn't matter if everyone knows it, there are so many little brothers, you have to say it. I, Golden Lion Shiki, don't want to lose face. Shiki is a proud man. He is in Rock's pirate with Newgate and Yulo, and it is not an exaggeration to say something to each other occasionally. But the Roger pirates are all outsiders and can be considered enemies. It is a shame for the enemy to say this. How can he still hang out at sea if the news spreads?" Without saying a word, Shiki floated up and rushed towards Jabba. Sakura Ten and Deadwood were about to chop down. "Ouch, I go." Jabba, who had just finished speaking, looked at Shiki, who suddenly rushed over, which really made him a little confused. However, Jabba reacted immediately and faced him with his axe without showing any signs of weakness. "Golden Lion Shiki, I will make you even more embarrassed." Shiki and Jabba moved to the open space in the distance. Shiki wants to defeat Jabba and must regain his face. Jabba also wants to defeat Shiki and make Shiki lose face even more. A face-saving battle begins. At the same time. "Ha ha ha ha, young man, do you want to join my pirate group?" Roger still had a smile on his face and extended an invitation to Yulo. Yulo is a member of the Rock's pirate and is considered his opposite, but he invites Yulo on board without hesitation, without any scruples about Newgate, who is standing beside him. This crazy guy is worthy of becoming the Pirate King. However, the next moment, Roger's face darkened suddenly, and he glanced at Rayleigh behind him resentfully. This weird look made Rayleigh tremble and almost get goosebumps. Just now, when Roger invited Yulo on board, he used his ability to listen to the sounds of all things to listen to Yulo's heart. This bastard kid actually complained about him in his heart, saying that he was different from what he imagined and that he was too ugly. Rayleigh was the only one in the entire pirate group who looked good. "I invite you sincerely, but you think I'm ugly. Please be a human being." "Newgate, what's this boy's name?" Roger asked loudly at Newgate with a big face. "HMPH, it's none of your business. You dare to poach people in front of me, so you can see how powerful I am." Newgate felt quite unhappy. Who dared to rob Rock's pirate? Where did you get the courage? Yulo is a member of his Rock's pirate. He and Shiki have not made any progress in wooing him. How can you, an outsider, just dig him out as he pleases? Although you may not be able to dig it out, but you feel unhappy, then fight to relieve your anger. Roger, watch the move. Newgate raised Kong Yunchi high, and white air bubbles emerged from the blade. Roger snorted coldly, and faced him with the western sword in his hand. The white vibrating force and the crimson sword energy tore through the space like ferocious beasts. The collision of each move caused explosions, and waves of huge waves crashed towards the island. Yulo did not respond to Roger's words. He would not leave before Rock's pirate was disbanded. At this time, Yulo was like a sharp sword. The sword energy was filled within 1 foot. After all the waves approached, they were severely cut and divided to both sides, allowing the rough waves to not penetrate within 1 foot of my body. What a sharp sword. Boy, your sword skills are good. However, you are still too young. Rayleigh was only interested and didn't take it very seriously. Even if you have the swordsmanship of a great swordsman, how strong your fighting power can be. Fighting requires more than just swordsmanship. After Pluton Rayleigh finished speaking, he raised his hand and slashed out with his sword. The dazzling sword light appeared, exuding a biting chill, and locked onto Yulo. Yulo felt the light of the sword, and then gently stroked the blade of 1001 Nights. 360 troubled winds. When the finger passed over the tip of the knife, the blade of 1001 Nights trembled slightly, absorbing all the sword energy around Yulo. Yulo waved his arm, and a storm of sword energy was thrown out. The sword energy storm and the sword energy touched, and dissipated together in a moment, and no one took advantage. Rayleigh was quite surprised in his heart. The swordsmanship he used with all his strength was only evenly matched. There is something. Rayleigh got interested and decided to give Yulo's fighting power a try. How dare you underestimate me, Pluton Rayleigh? Yulo's face was very unhappy, and Rayleigh's surprised expression made it clear that he was looking down on him. But that's fine, this way you can catch him off guard. Yulo doesn't have Rayleigh's top conqueror's haki, but his swordsmanship is not weaker than Rayleigh's. It also has a huge advantage in swordsmanship moves. The system rewards a complete encyclopedia of swordsmanship. There are many types of moves, and there are many unique skills that can compete with Pluton Rayleigh. Pluton Rayleigh's body shot out of Yulo like a cannonball, and the blade was covered with armament haki, making the aura it exuded even more powerful. How could Yulo let Rayleigh get close? A powerful force erupted from his feet, and he shot up into the air. At the same time, the blade of 1001 Nights is covered with intermediate armament haki. The blade becomes darker and deeper in the sunlight, like an endless abyss that makes people dare not look directly. Tiger hunting. The dark light of the black sword flashed, and the sword energy split out, turning into a dark giant tiger, and rushed towards Rayleigh with the momentum of a tiger descending a mountain. Rayleigh sneered, with a cold look in her eyes. She held the long knife tightly with both hands, her sword intent rose, the sharp sword energy condensed on the tip of the knife, and she stabbed straight forward. The sword aura of the great swordsman is coupled with the top-level armament haki, and Rayleigh's aura becomes extremely powerful, like a ferocious beast. The dark giant tiger collided with the tip of Rayleigh's knife. The tip of the knife was as powerful as breaking bamboo, piercing the ferocious giant tiger, and the sword energy was scattered in all directions. Yulo remained calm and never panicked. He didn't think that he could stop Pluton Rayleigh with just one move, Tiger Hunter. There still has to be something unexpected. He is not only a great swordsman, but also a demon fruit power. Just when Rayleigh had just pierced the dark giant tiger, Yulo had already taken action again. Facing Rayleigh, he had no reservations and used all his strength to activate Qinglian's inner fire. 2 wisps of green fire were thrown out from both hands, spinning rapidly in front of him, forming a flowing circle of fire. Now Qinglian's inner fire is much hotter than half a month ago. As soon as the flames came out, a suffocating heat wave swept across, the seawater began to boil instantly, and the moisture in the air also sizzled. This is the Qinglian Earth Core Fire. The current ultra-high temperature can already affect the environment on a small scale. As soon as Rayleigh broke through Jihu's show, he noticed the high temperature emitted by the green fire, his pupils shrank, and he secretly said something bad. After all, he still underestimated Yulo. He never expected that Yulo was not only a great swordsman, but also a demon fruit power, and the temperature was higher than the volcanic lava he had ever seen. This flame seems to be able to burn the sea, shocking people physically and mentally. Yulo noticed Rayleigh's shocked expression and activated his skills. If you don't do it now, wait until later. Great Flame Ring Fire Pillar. The green fire pillar spurted out, and in an instant, it spanned the distance between the two. I'll be a good boy. Not good. Rayleigh yelled that it was not good, but she was still careless. He was too close at this time. If he was hit from the front, he would be seriously injured even if he didn't die. Rayleigh, watch out. Roger, who was fighting Newgate, was keenly aware of the danger and couldn't help but warn Rayleigh. Rayleigh didn't have time to respond to Roger. He used the force in the air to change direction and quickly dodged to the side. This green flame is really too dangerous, and you must quickly escape from his attack range. He didn't want to be injured by an underage rookie pirate. As soon as Qinghuo approached Rayleigh, he felt the burning heat that penetrated his body. Sweat dripped on his forehead. He felt as if he was in a volcano. His whole body was covered with sweat, and even his clothes were soaked. This green flame is really terrifying. Rayleigh was so hot that he was sweating profusely and couldn't help but complain. The diameter of the cyan fire pillar was 10 meters, but Rayleigh was very fast and quickly dodged out of the attack range. Feeling the cyan fire pillar passing by, Rayleigh was frightened. Just as Rayleigh breathed a sigh of relief, a terrible scene happened. The cyan fire pillar actually moved and moved towards his position. Although it was only slightly shifted by more than 10 meters, it instantly enveloped it within the attack range again. And this is the result of Yulo's training every night for half a month, which has made his ability to control flames more precise and subtle. WTF. The trajectory will also be adjusted. Rayleigh's face changed drastically, and she cursed inwardly. He had no time to think, and quickly used the top armament hockey with all his strength. The black and red hockey instantly covered his whole body, from his forehead to the soles of his feet. It was too late to dodge this move, so I had no choice but to take it hard. Qinglian's inner fire passed by like a prairie fire, instantly engulfing Rayleigh. The flames continued to burn Rayleigh's body, but were blocked by Rayleigh's top armament hockey. After all, Rayleigh has the top armament hockey after all, and is not afraid of the burning of Qinglian's inner fire, which can be regarded as blocking this move. However, the ultra-high temperature generated by Qinglian's core fire surrounds Rayleigh and continuously bakes Rayleigh's body. This temperature is not the temperature that escapes in the air, but the temperature that the real Qinglian earth core fire has, which is twice as high as the temperature that disperses in the air. Although Rayleigh armament hockey is extremely powerful and can withstand the external burning of Qinglian's earth core fire, it cannot stop the loss of water in the body at ultra-high temperatures. Rayleigh clearly felt this situation, gritted his teeth, and felt a sudden change in his heart. He instantly gave up resisting the impact, and was directly driven into the sea by the powerful pillar of fire. The surging blue pillar of fire bombarded the sea, and even the sea had a faint tendency to be burned. A large chunk of the seawater surface evaporated instantly, a large amount of water vapor floated upward, and the surrounding seawater boiled, like a magma hot spring. Many fish and shrimps were scalded to death, there was a burnt smell in the air, and there was even a faint whine of some sea kings. Several huge black shadows flashed under the sea surface and quickly fled the sea area. Everyone couldn't help but swallowed as they looked at the rolling scene on the sea. This is so f***ing outrageous, I have never seen such a terrifying and pervert ability of devil fruit. The seawater offset part of the temperature of the flames, and Rayleigh felt much better in the seawater. Rayleigh, you are careless, you should not underestimate the enemy. During the battle, Roger had long realized that Yulo was not simple, so he had been paying attention to the battle between Rayleigh and Yulo. Of course he knew that Rayleigh underestimated the enemy, and even he had the same idea at the beginning. None of them thought that in addition to the great swordsman-level swordsmanship, Yulo also possesses the powerful devil fruit ability. Roger felt that in this situation, Rayleigh's choice was very correct. If it were him, he would make the same choice. When the top-level armament hockey is activated at full strength, the water in the body is also gradually lost, so the physical strength will be consumed rapidly. Even if you persist until the fire pillar dissipates, you may be close to exhaustion. La, Roger, Yulo is a genius, and has been appointed as a cadre by Captain Rocks. Newgate suddenly laughed, his eyes full of affirmation of Yulo, and his words full of show-off and provocation to Roger. HMPH. So what, I still have a lot of geniuses on board. Roger snorted coldly, feeling a little envious. He did have a few geniuses on board, but there was a gap compared to Yulo. At the same time, I am a little jealous. Why? People with strong talents have joined the Rocks Pirate, like Kaido he knows, and Yulo who is just around the corner. But fortunately, according to the intelligence he received, the cadres of Rocks Pirate have no sense of belonging and are just a group of guys who unite for profit. Such a pirate group is indeed extremely powerful, but it is also very easy to fall apart. Shiki and Jabba were suddenly attracted by the movement here. At the same time, they saw Rayleigh being hit directly by the blue pillar of fire and knocked into the sea. Yulo boy's flames are getting hotter. Shiki laughed loudly, and at the same time he was surprised, but he still recognized Yulo in his heart. How can this be? It was different for Jabba. He was really shocked and even suspected that he was dazzled. While I was worried about Rayleigh, I couldn't help but think that if it were him, the outcome would be similar to Rayleigh's. A few seconds passed, and Rayleigh, who fell into the sea, had not come up yet, which made Yulo a little strange. Logically speaking, it shouldn't be. Rayleigh was obviously careless and underestimated the enemy, so he caught him by surprise, so he shouldn't have let it go to waste. Rayleigh, are you okay? Captain Rayleigh, how are you? Roger and Jabba couldn't help but become worried, and even the crew members watching the battle on the pirate ship shouted. After a while, Rayleigh's head slowly emerged from the sea. "I'll go, Rayleigh, you've changed. Ha 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 ha, I'm laughing so hard." It didn't matter if he didn't show it. Once he showed it, the atmosphere of the whole place changed instantly. Everyone laughed secretly, including Roger, Newgate, Shaki, and Jabba, who laughed the loudest. Yulo couldn't help but laugh, wondering if he was too kind. While fighting, he also sent waves of blows and washes to his opponents. I saw Rayleigh emerging from the water. His clothes were all intact, but the top of his head was bare. If you look towards the sea, you will find that on the blue sea, there is a bald head soaked in water, which even reflects in the sun. At this time, Rayleigh's face looked as ugly as if he had eaten shit, and his eyes looking at Yulo were full of resentment. As a strong man in the New World and the vice captain of the Roger Pirates, when has he ever encountered such a mess? He can't control Roger and others, but some pirate crew members must be shocked, otherwise His Majesty will be useless in the future. What are you looking at? What are you laughing at? Let's see how I deal with you when I get back. Boom. Rayleigh's momentum disappeared in a flash, shocking the crew, and they all became serious. Ah, hee hee. Then he turned his attention to Yulo, who couldn't help laughing. Yulo smiled awkwardly and waved his hand unconsciously. But in Rayleigh's eyes, things have changed. In his eyes, Yulo actually smiled arrogantly and waved the black knife in his hand towards him. Faced with such provocation, Rayleigh did not rush forward to do anything to him. He always had a strange feeling. The eyes of everyone present were focused on him, as if his whole body was being seen through. This feeling of nakedness made him very uncomfortable. Rayleigh snorted, said nothing, turned around and jumped onto the boat. Although he could beat Yulo, it would take a long time and be of little value, so he might as well get out of here. After all, the reason for coming here is to see a young man with swordsmanship that is not weaker than Golden Lion Shaki. Now that I have seen him, I have also tested his strength. What's more, changing the route is just a temporary decision, they have more important things to do. As for regaining face, leave it to next time. Roger and Jabba, who were not far away, saw Rayleigh retreating and did not want to continue to entangle. They quickly moved towards the pirate ship. Whitebeard, Newgate and Golden Lion Shaki did not stop them and returned to the shore. Yulo also put the black knife back into its sheath, and the burning Chinglian earth core dispersed, landing smoothly between Shaki and Newgate. The battle is over. Yulo looked into the distance silently. The Roger pirates had disappeared. Goo la 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 la, that's amazing, Yulo. Even Pluden Rayleigh was tricked by you. Whitebeard placed Kong Yunchi on the ground, sat down, and praised him without hesitation. Starting from today, Pluden Rayleigh will become Bald Rayleigh. Golden Lion also joked. Maybe I'm too handsome and have better luck. Rayleigh underestimated the enemy, so I caught him off guard. Yulo said lightly. Shaki and Newgate rolled their eyes at him. They didn't think Yulo was very handsome, but they recognized him because of his high talent and strength. Yulo's mind communication system, he remembered that there were mission rewards. Ding! The mission was successfully checked in. Congratulations to host for obtaining high-level Conqueror's Hockey. When Yulo heard this, he became excited. It's actually Conqueror's Hockey. It's a mission check-in, and the reward is great. Hockey claims to have the qualifications of a king, and only one person among millions can awaken. He is born with it and cannot be cultivated. Hockey's strength can only be increased by increasing his strength and courage. Even among Rock's pirate cadres, only a few possess Conqueror's Hockey. Among the crew members below the cadre level, apart from Yulo, only Kaido has awakened Conqueror's Hockey, which shows how rare they are. Yulo couldn't help but smile, thinking of the look in Rayleigh's eyes before she left. Rayleigh should be thinking of taking revenge next time, but now it seems that he has no chance. Yulo already has high-level Conqueror's Hockey. He only needs to practice Observation Hockey and Armament Hockey to high level, or obtain them directly from system rewards. By that time, even if Rayleigh tried his best, he wouldn't be able to do anything to Yulo. Yulo, Shaki and Newgate returned to the pirate ship suspended in the air. With the cheers of their younger brothers, they started to hold a banquet for Yulo's improvement in strength. As for returning to Beehive Island, there is no need to rush, and if there is an emergency, Rocks will use the phone bug to notify them. On the other side, the Roger pirates. Really, how strong is that guy named Yulo? Originally he went there for Yulo's swordsmanship, but when he saw the domineering and terrifying flames, Roger became even more curious. When I think about that kid, I get so angry that I get a headache. He is indeed a monster. He is already a great swordsman at a young age and has such powerful devil fruit abilities. At this point, there was a pause. But his taijutsu doesn't seem to be as good as Hoki's, so I won't lose in a fight. It's just more troublesome. At the end, Rayleigh unconsciously touched his bald head. He was still very confident in his strength. Yulo is indeed a little stronger than he thought. Of course, a little bit is a lot. But it's not so strong that he is invincible. Roger said nothing and looked silently in the direction of Rock's pirate. Rock's pirate is getting stronger and stronger. I really don't know when we will be able to solve Rock's pirate. A day later, Yulo, Shiki and Whitebeard received a call bug from Rocks. Now he has left the small island and is heading towards the Beehive Island, the base camp of Rock's pirate. When they were about to arrive at Beehive Island, a huge pirate ship slowly approached from a distance. Before he even got close, Yulo felt a gaze staring at him. Kaido. Yulo followed his gaze and narrowed his eyes slightly to see the person clearly. A tall and burly man with a bare chest and a mace in his hand, but with slender legs and wearing leather pants. At first glance, people will feel that his body proportions are out of proportion. It is Kaido in his youth, who is also one of the 4 emperors of the New World in the future. Now he is just a captain-level pirate under Charlotte Linlin. Before that, when Yulo broke into Beehive Island, Kaido went sailing and was not on the island. Grr, it turns out Kaido is back. Whitebeard Newgate laughed loudly. As long as it was not a matter of life and death, Whitebeard could smile all the time. Are you Yulo? After Kaido's ship approached, a rough voice sounded, speaking in a questioning tone. Yulo raised his eyebrows and said calmly, "That's me, why do you do so? Fight with me and let me see your strength. I really don't understand why Captain Rocks would appoint a brat like you to become a cadre." Kaido seemed to be giving an order, with unquestionable meaning. He had already received the news from Charlotte Linlin, and he was very unconvinced. How could an underage kid be appointed as a cadre by default? He is the most promising candidate to become a cadre. Now that I have met Yulo, I am even more convinced of my inner thoughts. A skinny kid, even if he has good abilities and swordsmanship, is still vulnerable to his strength and hockey. Gia ha 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 ha, boy Yulo, he is questioning your strength. Kaido, I advise you not to do this. It would be bad if Yulo accidentally kills you. Golden Lion Shiki couldn't help but laugh, looking at Kaido with a hint of sympathy in his eyes. Before Yulo appeared, Kaido was indeed the most talented person, and his tough physique could be called immune to death's Xiaoqiang. His strength is not weak, and he is among the top among captain-level pirates, but there is still a big gap compared to Yulo. After obtaining the Blue Dragon Fruit, Kaido may be able to have a chance encounter with Yulo, but the current situation is far from enough. Golden Lion Shiki said this because he wanted Kaido to retreat. As the person Charlotte Linlin values the most, if Yulo is defeated, Charlotte Linlin will definitely come to cause trouble. It's not that he's afraid of her, but he simply doesn't want to have too much contact with her. In the middle of a hearty battle, he suddenly said, "Let's have a baby together," and no one else would be able to break the defense on the spot. Shiki, Newgate, this has nothing to do with you. Yulo kid, I want you to know that the position of a cadre depends on strength, not talent. While speaking to Shiki and Newgate, Kaido raised the mace in his hand, the black spikes flashing with cold light. He felt even more unhappy, feeling that Shiki and Newgate underestimated him and had no idea of his strength. Why did he accidentally kill him? It was to protect Yulo and scare him so that he would retreat in spite of difficulties. Go ahead and dream. I, Kaido, am not a fool. The more you say this, the more I feel that Yulo's strength is mediocre. Maybe Rocks thinks Yulo has great potential and will surpass him in the future, but now, he is definitely not his match. The more Kaido thinks about it, the more confident he becomes. Shiki and Newgate stopped talking and just watched quietly. After all, this was a matter between Yulo and Kaido, and they still had to deal with it themselves. Yulo finally spoke, his tone full of disdain, and he sneered, "My cadre is determined by Captain Rocks. If you are not convinced, don't go to the captain and come to show off your power in front of me. Why, you bully the weak and avoid the strong. Do you think I'm easy to bully?" As soon as these words came out, Yulo's provocative words were more than evident. I mentioned Rocks by the way. After all, Rocks caused a wave of hatred for Yulo. However, even without Rock's words, Kaido's character would still cause him trouble. When Kaido heard this, he became a little angry. He felt that Yulo was too arrogant, which made him even more angry than Shiki and Newgate's contempt. Of course he didn't dare to question Rocks. Rocks was strong and Yamato was majestic and could not be challenged. He had experienced this personally. That's why he came to Yulo to have a fight, to prove to Rocks and everyone that he, Kaido, is the strongest. He is the person most qualified to be promoted to cadre. Kaido became so angry that he stopped talking nonsense and slammed the mace on the deck. Suddenly, a powerful aura and pressure burst out from his body. Boom! The hull under Kaido's feet sank a bit, and the purple air flow was visible to the naked eye, centered on him and spreading in all directions. For a moment, time seemed to be frozen. Many of the younger brothers behind Kaido were frightened by this huge momentum and fainted with their eyes wide. Purple air flow swept across the sea, and the originally rippling sea surface suddenly stopped for a moment, then surged and roared instantly. "Let's see how you break my conqueror's haki," Kaido sneered, with a chill in his eyes. Seeing Yulo, who was motionless on the opposite boat, he thought he was frightened and felt proud. He was out sailing during this time, and Conqueror's haki had already broken through to the mid-level during the battle, and felt that it was more than enough to deal with the Yulo in front of him. A skinny underage brat is definitely not very strong. What kind of courage can he have? He may not even have awakened Conqueror's haki. Ha 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 ha, prepare to surrender to my haki. Kaido had already imagined the scene of suppressing Yulo by releasing Conqueror's haki before he even took action, and couldn't help laughing. The next moment, something unexpected happened. Just when Shiki and Newgate were about to take action. "This is my business, let me do it," Yulo said excitedly, the blood all over his body boiling. "Conqueror's haki, he has it too, so let's try it with Kaido." Shiki and Newgate were slightly confused. They didn't know that Yulo had awakened Conqueror's haki, which was still not weaker than their high-level conquerors. Doubts remain doubts. After more than half a month of getting along, the two still trust Yulo very much. Just when Kaido's Conqueror's haki formed a purple airflow, it came less than 1 meter in front of Yulo. Yulo's pupils shrank, and a dark and deep light flashed through. A majestic momentum that swallowed the sky and the earth rose from his body into the sky, directly shaking away the clouds in the sky. Haki, who instantly pushed Kaido, the clouds above his head dispersed, and the sun shone in. But, in a blink of an eye, the sky is dark and the earth is dark. This is Yulo's Conqueror's haki. All go, what the? Conquerors. Gu la 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 la, boy Yulo is such a monster. Yulo's Conqueror's haki suddenly burst out, which really shocked Shiki and Newgate. Now the two were ready to see Kaido's jokes. The black airflow first firmly blocked Kaido's haki, and then suddenly expanded. Compared to Kaido's Conqueror's haki, it has a more domineering and majestic momentum, sweeping towards the sea. Yulo's Conquerors were overwhelming, giving people a bottomless feeling, constantly suppressing Kaido's Conquerors. The purple air flow continued to retreat and slowly shrink under the suppression of the black air flow. At this moment, the sea was filled with Yulo's momentum. Kaido's Conqueror's haki was instantly forced back into his body. The black air hit him and Kaido staggered. He took a few steps back before he stabilized his body. How is this possible? You own Conqueror's haki too. Kaido was completely confused. Why was it different from what he thought? His face was full of disbelief. After a brief confrontation of momentum, he was instantly defeated and had no power to fight back. Yulo, the skinny kid in Kaido's eyes, also has Conqueror's haki, a Conqueror's haki who is even more powerful than him. Kaido's brain gradually recovered, and he looked at Yulo in shock. Such a powerful Conqueror's haki came from an underage brat. Is it possible? Even with the talent he is proud of, it is impossible. Just when Kaido released Conqueror's haki, everyone on Beehive Island felt a powerful aura. In the hall of Skull Castle, Rocks, Akoku, Silver Axe, John and others quickly noticed it. Akoku is a little confused. Could it be that someone else broke into Beehive Island, or is it someone who owns Conqueror's Hockey? At this time, Rox said, "This is Kaido's Conqueror's Hockey. I have been sailing outside for several months, but I didn't expect that it is already an intermediate Conqueror's. Let's go take a look too." Just as Rox and the three of them were about to stand up, a domineering and majestic aura suddenly appeared again. Second share of Conqueror's Hockey. Quick, something must have happened. Rox and others paused for a moment, then used physical skills one after another and disappeared in an instant. Rox, Akoku, Silver Axe, John and others are all top players in the sea, with extremely powerful physical skills and lightning speed. Within a few breaths, Rox and others appeared on the shore. At this time, the pirates gathered on the shore quickly moved out of the way, and Rox and others stopped at the front. Not far away on the sea, the Conqueror's Hockey released by Kaido was about to envelope Shiki and Newgate's ship. A more powerful Conqueror's Hockey appeared, quickly suppressing Kaido's Conqueror's Hockey with an unstoppable force, and then forced it back into his body. And this earth-shattering Conqueror's Hockey comes not from Shiki and Newgate, but from Yulo. At this moment, Akoku, John, Silver Axe and all the pirates couldn't help but widen their eyes. The scene before them really shocked them. Most people were extremely shocked, but Rox, who was at the front, had a gleam in his eyes and a curve at the corner of his mouth. On the other side, Kaido, who was steadying his body, saw Yulo on the boat in the distance, looking at him with a disdainful smile on his face, as if the smile was silently mocking him. Kaido took a deep breath and his face began to turn gloomy. The frustration and shock Yulo brought to him did not make him retreat, but made him even more eager to prove himself. Under the turbulent sea surface, the pirate ship had quickly approached the coast. Just as Kaido was about to take action, his expression suddenly changed. They were surprised to find that on the shore of Beehive Island, the members of the pirate group headed by Rox and Kadri were looking at the place. Damn it! Kaido gritted his teeth and sounded angry. His plan to defeat Yulo and regain the Kadris may not be possible. Thinking of Rox and others, and witnessing him being crushed by Yulo's conquerors, his face became even more ugly, as if he had eaten Shang. This is a good thing. Instead of showing his strength in front of Rox and the Kadris, he was suppressed by force. This was completely different from what he expected, going in the opposite direction. HMPH, let's go. Kaido snorted coldly, his hatred and murderous intention towards Yulo getting stronger and stronger. Coward! Yulo, who was as steady as a rock, complained disdainfully, and then leaned against the hull. This Kaido's harsh words sound good and he sounds very fierce, but when it comes to competition, he is the weaker one. Shiki and Newgate stepped forward and came to Yulo's side. Gu la 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 la, boy Yulo, your conqueror's hockey is no worse than me at all, it has already reached a high level. Newgate smiled from ear to ear, and Yulo nodded slightly. If you don't listen to the old man's words, you will suffer the consequences in front of you, Jia ha 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 ha. Kaido, this loss is not small. Golden Lion Shiki had a cigar in his mouth, looked at Kaido arrogantly and said. Ha 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 ha. Even the younger brothers behind the three people burst into laughter. As for the people on Kaido's ship, most of them were stunned by Conqueror's hockey, while the remaining people stared with anger, but did not dare to say anything. The pirate ship sailed into the island bay. Yulo, Shiki, Newgate and Kaido brought the crew down one after another and came to Rox and the officers. It is worth noting that there are some more faces in the crowd this time. Yulo knows Bao Bao and Shachi, and there are also a few strangers who are probably not mentioned in the original work. After the two sides exchanged pleasantries, Rox got straight to the point. Kaido, in more than a month, your conquerors has broken through to the intermediate level, not bad. Rox said to Kaido first, which was a kind of recognition of his progress. But after seeing Kaido being crushed, no one had much reaction, which was indeed a bit embarrassing. Kaido, looking livid and feeling aggrieved, returned to Charlotte Linlin. Seeing Linlin staring at Yulo and making small calculations in his mind, Kaido was so angry that he trembled. He vowed to find an opportunity to beat Yulo into a pulp. Then, Rox looked at Yulo with a rare smile on his face. Ha 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 ha, Yulo, you really surprise me. High-level conqueror's hockey is not weaker than Shiki and Newgate at all. As soon as these words came out, most of the pirates present were shocked. Most pirates know about conquerors, but they don't know the division of strong and weak levels. Now after hearing Rox talk about it, they have an understanding in their hearts. Advanced Conquerors Haki, as strong as Shiki and Newgate's conquerors. No wonder he was able to crush Kaido, after all, he just broke through the mid-level Conquerors Haki. I met the Roger pirates during this training, and during the fight with Pluton Rayleigh, I naturally awakened. Yulo said lightly. There was nothing to hide, but he was just making up a lie. When Shiki and Newgate heard this, the corners of their mouths twitched slightly. This kid Yulo is really good at showing off. He can reach a high level just after awakening Conqueror's Haki. Ha 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 ha, Yulo, I was right about you. Your talent is worthy of being called a monster. It's not unusual for people like you to awaken conquerors. As for reaching a high level directly, it must have something to do with your own strength. Shiki and Newgate never expected that Rox would actually believe it, and even walked up and patted Yulo on the shoulder, as if I think highly of you and appreciate you. However, I didn't expect you to meet Roger's group. How was your battle with Pluton Rayleigh? As far as I know, he is pretty strong. Rox immediately changed the topic and stared at Yulo with a sharp look, pretending to be curious. Yulo's talent and strength really surprised Rox. Captain Rox, it's like this. Shiki and Newgate briefly explained the situation, and the surrounding pirates also pricked up their ears and listened carefully. Not bad, very good. You can take Pluton Rayleigh by surprise and make him suffer a big loss. Your overall strength is not much different from his. Rox gave his opinion. While Akoku and others were surprised, they all agreed. It has only been a while, but Yulo has become stronger. Akoku's expression turned serious unconsciously. He was still thinking about defeating Yulo one day. At this moment, Rox's ambitions have grown even more. Yulo's talent and the speed at which he became stronger made him more confident, and it was time to start preparing his plan. Yulo can actually fight Pluton Rayleigh. This combat capability is considered very strong among cadres. The pirates gathered around were whispering and discussing. When Yulo was appointed as a cadre, many veteran crew members were unconvinced, but now they are completely convinced. If it were them, in the hands of Pluton Rayleigh, they probably wouldn't be able to last 10 rounds. Unknowingly, many pirates' views on Yulo gradually changed, and some even looked at Yulo with admiration and admiration. Okay, you are all here. There is an important action this time. Let's go back to the hall and talk about it. We will have a major operation in the near future. You must be fully prepared. If this operation is successful, everyone will receive countless treasures. Rox looked at Yulo, Shiki, and Newgate and said, then turned to face the members of the pirate group and shouted loudly. Wow! When the pirates heard this, they immediately cheered, and their originally shocked hearts were replaced by greed and desire. For them, plundering treasure is the most desired thing. After more than a month of idleness, they can finally go to sea to plunder. The pirates cheered for a while and then dispersed with enthusiasm. Then Yulo and others followed Rox and returned to the hall of the skeleton castle. Yulo found a seat and sat down, and Shiki and Newgate sat on either side of him. Shiki, what kind of operation requires all cadres to be present? Yulo was a little curious and asked Shiki and Newgate. They must have high-level marine combat capabilities, otherwise there would be no need for our cadres to personally take action. Shiki took a puff of his cigar and said casually. Shiki is right, the only ones worthy of a battle like ours are the forces of the world government. Newgate nodded, obviously agreeing with what he said. They have experienced this kind of thing a lot, and they have fought against Marine Admiral a lot. Not far away, several cadres who had never met before saw that Yulo was on an equal footing with them. They couldn't help but snorted, with a look of disdain on their faces. Yulo's Conqueror's Haki just now really shocked them, but they had never seen Yulo's true strength. He is just a newcomer with super talent. Conqueror's Haki's strength does not necessarily mean that he is strong. In the final analysis, it still depends on his overall strength. They didn't awaken Conqueror's Haki, but they all fought against Shiki and Newgate. During the battle, Conqueror's Haki did not bring much impact to them, and its strength was inferior to Shiki and Newgate. Yulo didn't pay attention, ignored their looks, and continued chatting with Shiki and Newgate. Recently, Naval Headquarters is gradually shifting its focus to the New World, adding a lot of troops and mid-level and high-level combat capabilities to the New World. Rox sat in the main seat and said to everyone with an expressionless face. Many people present showed disdain. It's just a Marine, it's not like he hasn't fought before, so they know exactly what his strength is. They had fought many times before, and Marine couldn't do anything to them. Rox pirate is getting stronger and stronger now. So what if Marine increases their combat power? New World is their territory, and Rox pirate has nothing to fear. According to the information I received, the reason why Marine took these actions is to curb the development of our Rox pirate in the New World. On the other hand, some of the countries that have joined the world government recently are preparing to pay tribute, and they need Marine frigates to safely deliver Mariajoy. Rox suddenly showed a cruel smile and said again. As soon as these words came out, everyone showed excited eyes, even Shiki and Newgate's eyes lit up. Yulo is also looking forward to it, it's gold from the sky. It is a country that has harvested a whole year and accumulated a lot of treasures, including famous knives and devil fruit. If they are snatched away, the cadres can get a share, and the strength of the Rox pirate will also be improved. Yes, our operation this time is to intercept the Marine frigate and seize the gold in the sky. Rox stood up, clapped his hands on the table, and said excitedly. At this point, the cadres were already excited. I'm finally going to see. This operation really didn't disappoint me. There's gold in the sky and tons of treasures. John was extremely excited at the thought of plundering the gold in the sky, and his mind was filled with excitement and desire for the treasure. Ha ha, John, you look greedy, as if you have never seen the treasure. An unknown cadre looked at John with contempt and said with a mocking look on his face. After Yulo heard this sentence, he couldn't help but think that Captain John in the original book died at the hands of his crew because of his greed after the Rox pirate was disbanded. Although we are not afraid of Marine, you should not be careless. Rox glanced at everyone and reminded them. Currently, it is known that among the top Marine officials involved in the escort, there is Sengoku the Buddha, Black Arm Zephyr, who is an admiral candidate. Rox begins to reveal the dangers of the operation. John's eyes narrowed, and the greed in his heart dissipated a little. Sengoku and Zephyr are strong men who can fight against Shiki and Newgate, which means they are at least as strong as him. In this operation, Marine escorted 2 batches of sky gold. I led Shiki, Newgate and Yulo, and was responsible for the fleets of Sengoku and Zephyr. The remaining cadres are responsible for another batch of heavenly gold. Rox explained the action plan. Yulo was alone without a fleet, so it was not suitable to arrange any tasks, so he had to continue to act with Shiki and Newgate. Yulo had nothing to say and listened quietly. Okay, that's all that needs to be said. In order to prevent changes in the base camp, the people I notified in advance are left to guard the place. The treasures that should be distributed to you will definitely not be less. Rox said in a serious tone. He attaches great importance to Beehive Island and has already arranged in advance for his most trusted people to stay and guard it. Everyone has half a month to prepare. During this period, no news can be revealed. Rox Hockey glanced at everyone. There is a mole in Marine within the pirate group, and Rox knows it. As for whether he is among the cadres, he is not sure yet, but it is necessary to remind him. If the mole is really among the cadres, he will never be merciful. Don't worry, Captain, Yulo responded, following the officers. After the meeting, the cadres left one after another, and Yulo followed Shiki and Newgate back to the ship. The officer who mocked John at the meeting was named Mr. 5. After he returned to the ship, he chatted and drank with 3 or 5 crew members. Until the evening, several crew members went to rest, leaving only Mr. 5 and 1 crew member. The 2 sat together and talked some words, and then Mr. 5 returned to the room. The crew member came to the coast alone, hid under a boulder, carefully took out a small telephone bug, and immediately made a call. Brew brew. The phone was answered, and a familiar face appeared on it. I am Sora. Kong's deep voice sounded. Rox will rob the 2 batches of sky gold escorted by Marine in half a month. The crew member lowered his voice, but he could still hear it clearly. Inside the marshal's office in Marineford. Tell me a specific action plan. Kong's expression suddenly became serious. The main action is, the crew member told the whole story directly. Kong looked solemn after hearing this. He knew that Rox would not let go of such a rich piece of heavenly gold. In the plan revealed by the crew, Rocks only brought Shiki and Newgate, as well as the new guy Yulo. After the mole finished speaking, he quickly hung up the phone, but Kong's eyes lit up. This is a good opportunity to eliminate rocks. The next morning, Kong called for Sengoku, Zephyr, Garp and Crane. Seeing Kong's solemn expression, the four of them realized that something big was about to happen, and they couldn't help but become serious. Garp looks serious, but in fact he keeps eating. I received the news last night that the Rocks pirate is preparing to plunder the heavenly gold you escorted. Kong's words made people look at each other in shock, but they were not too surprising. This was a basic operation for Rocks pirate. Rocks personally leads Shiki, Newgate, and that newcomer Yulo, who will snatch the heavenly gold escorted by Sengoku and Zephyr. And the remaining cadres went to snatch the sky gold escorted by Garp and Crane. After Kong finished speaking, Crane beside him suddenly opened his eyes wide. There are only 3 cadres around Rocks, and one of them is still a newcomer. This is a good opportunity. Ms. He's eyes sparkled. As a captain, Rocks would not take action personally most of the time. He would take action once in a while, and there were many cadres around him. For an operation like this one, they only had 3 cadres, including one Yulo who, in their opinion, was no more than an ordinary cadre even though he was super talented. Marine will not let go of such a rare opportunity. Change the escort plan. The sky gold escorted by Garp and Crane will be escorted by me and Zephyr. At the same time, add more troops, let Garp and Crane hide on my ship, and capture the rocks by surprise. The marine escort fleet on the other side set off as usual, attracting those cadres who came to rob, so that Rocks and the others could not be rescued. Quote. Sengoku nodded, and he, known as the resourceful general, immediately gave a response plan. Kong thought for a moment after hearing this, and then looked at Ms. He. He nodded seriously, obviously agreeing with Sengoku's plan. Okay, let's proceed according to this plan. You all go down and get ready. Afterwards, Kong stood up immediately and decided on the next arrangement. Yes, Sengoku, Garp, Zephyr, Crane, nodded solemnly in response. Then, he left at a vigorous pace. Night. After Yulo separated from Shiki and Newgate, he did not return to the room to rest. He stood alone on the deck, feeling the sea breeze, looking at the night scene on the sea, and thinking deeply in his heart. There is still half a month left, and I can make a lot of progress in this half month. Yulo looked at the sea and couldn't help but look forward to it, and joined Rocks Pirate's first operation. It's quite exciting to think about it. The first action is to snatch the gold from the sky. Half a month is neither long nor short. Yulo's strength has also undergone a transformation. Junior observation Haki has broken through to the intermediate level through constant battle practice. Intermediate armament Haki has also made great progress. He has reached a level close to the advanced level and should be able to break through in the near future. These 2 kinds of Haki's progress make Yulo a little happy. The only annoying thing is the daily check-in of the system. It seems that you can only get 1 or 2 high-end rewards after half a month of low-end period. In addition to observation Haki and armament Haki, Yulo focused on physical training, hoping to quickly improve his physical fitness. On the 3rd day, I started sparring with Whitebeard Newgate every morning with my bare hands. Of course, Yulo is relatively weak in terms of physical strength, and Newgate only uses strength that is slightly stronger than him to train Yulo's body to suppress it. At the beginning, Yulo could only hold on for half an hour. As time went by, it became 1 hour, 2 hours, and now, he can fight Newgate who used 70% of his strength for a day and a night. From now on, I no longer have to be a ranged mage. These are the main training. In his spare time at night, he will also conduct Devil Fruit ability training and sword training. Although the progress is not as obvious as Haki and physical fitness, he has also gained experience in flame control and swordsmanship. The most important thing is that several powerful skills are unlocked in the skill encyclopedia. In this way, with the leisurely enjoyment of the cadres and the active preparations of the ordinary crew members, half a month passed in a blink of an eye. This early morning was the day to set out for action. Yulo woke up slowly, and while dressing and washing, he checked in daily. Do your daily check-in. Ding, I successfully clocked in today. Congratulations to host for obtaining advanced physique. The system prompt sounded, and Yulo suddenly paused. Sure enough, After half a month of low-end period, today's check-in rewards are obviously much higher end. Based on this idea, Yulo deduced that today's actions would most likely trigger a mission check-in. With his thoughts at this point, he couldn't help but look forward to this action even more intensely. Yulo dressed neatly and then felt the strength of his body. It was obviously much improved than before. According to the information feedback from the system boss, the comprehensive quality of the advanced physique is about 90% of Newgate's physical quality. As expected of a system boss, the rewards he hands out casually improve faster than my progress in half a month of training. After receiving this feedback, Yulo couldn't help but admire the system. At the same time, he was also secretly happy that his strength had increased to 90% of Newgate's overnight. If Newgate found out, he would be so shocked that his jaw would drop to the ground. Afterwards, Yulo picked up the black knife and headed to the starting point of the bay. At the bay of Beehive Island, most people have gathered, and a dozen huge pirate ships are ready to set sail. Boy Yulo, you came so slowly, Gia ha 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 ha. Golden Lion Shiki held a cigar in his mouth and said hello to Yulo who came over. Gee you la 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 la, boy Yulo has made a lot of progress in the past half month, let's see him show off his skills this time. Whitebeard Newgate held the Yongdao in his hand and had some expectations for Yulo's improved strength. After a while, Rox came, looking the same as before, with a famous knife on his waist. Yulo, who is familiar with the original work, knows that although Rox rarely strikes, he is a great swordsman whose swordsmanship is higher than that of him and Golden Lion Shiki. Of course, for Yulo, these are only temporary. Rox didn't talk nonsense. The other group of cadres were all veterans and took Shiki, Newgate, and Yulo directly to the main ship. Set sail. Goal. Gold in the sky. On a huge pirate ship, the red skull on the pirate flag with the Rox pirate logo looks particularly ferocious. On both sides of the main ship, there were 4 pirate ships guarding it. Yulo, Shiki and Newgate were all standing on the deck, and Rox was standing at the front, quietly looking at the sea. After the battle begins later, Shiki and Newgate will charge, while Yulo and I will stay on the ship. Rox turned around and said to the 3 of them. Shiki and Newgate had no objections and nodded slightly in agreement. However, Yulo was a little confused. Did he feel that his strength was still lacking? Rox looked at Yulo's confused look and said with a fierce smile, "There is a woman named Crane in Marine who is very cunning and has ruined my plans many times. Maybe the information we got is not accurate, so in case the war situation changes, you and I stay on the ship to provide support." Quote, "Yulo boy, with your ability and swordsmanship, you can still fight on the ship." Golden Lion Shiki and Newgate explained his long-range mage's combat method in one sentence. Yulo thought for a moment and felt that there was nothing wrong with it. Then let's be a remote mage again for the time being. At this time, several black spots appeared on the distant sea, which were the marine fleet escorting Tianshengjian. Shiki, Newgate, and even Yulo started to get excited. On the 4 ships next to it, some captains and official members took out their weapons and were always ready. When you get close to the marine, do what you just said. Rox looked at the marine fleet in the distance, with a faint evil light in his squinted eyes. As the 2 sides gradually approached, 2 ships in the marine fleet that were no smaller than the main ship could be vaguely seen. They were transport ships carrying gold from the sky. At this moment, on the marine escort fleet warship, Marine, who was responsible for reconnaissance and lookout, suddenly discovered the oncoming pirate ship in front. I quickly took a closer look with my binoculars and saw the Rox pirate logo, a red skull. He turned pale with fright and staggered back a few steps. It's Rox pirate is coming." As soon as these words came out, it spread to all the warships in an instant, and the marine soldiers stood ready and prepared for battle. On top of the main ship, Sengoku and Zephyr stand on the bow. They looked young and energetic, tall and strong, with their arms folded across their chests, and their cloaks of justice fluttering behind them. Sengoku and Zephyr, who possess advanced knowledge and color hockey, have already discovered the Rox pirate. The 2 of them crossed their arms and prepared for the attack. They did not look surprised or anxious, but looked as if they had expected it. Thanks for watching, please like and subscribe.